Alright, hi guys. We're gonna do a quick video on guess and check, and guess and check is just a strategy for solving. Sometimes it's kind of the slow way of doing things. Other times it's actually quicker, and sometimes I guess and check when I know I could do a more complicated algebra solving, equation or something like that. But if guess and check's fast, then I like to use it. So we're gonna do a problem together and just talk about what are some of the things that a good guess and check problem have to really show that you understand how to do it. So here's a problem. You might pause the video and write it down. It's made up, so it's going to be our example. And it's about two people, Jack and Carly, and it basically says that Jack and Carly went trick-or-treating on Halloween. So they're going, door to door on Halloween, knocking on the doors and saying trick-or-treat and dressed up in their costumes, getting candy. I'm sure most of us have done this as kids. We always went trick-or-treating. So Jack and Carly are going trick-or-treating, and they go around one block and they get 25 pieces of candy after going around one block. Now, if Carly has 3 less pieces than Jack, how many pieces of candy do they each have? That's our question. So we might underline some of this. How many pieces of candy do they each have? That's what we're trying to figure out. But first, we need to get some of the facts shown. So I'm going to figure this out using guess and check. We have two people, Jack and Carly. So the best way I'm thinking about doing this is building a table. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write Jack and then Carly. And what else do I know? I know they have 25 pieces of candy altogether. So that's their total. So I'm going to write total candy. And I'm going to make a table. So I'm going to draw a line under here and just kind of split these down the middle like so. Something that you might do, and this is optional, but you can give yourself kind of some clues. Like for total candy, I know I'm supposed to have 25 pieces altogether. So I might write over here like 25 in a little parenthesis so I don't forget. Or like there was another piece of fact here. It said Carly has 3 less pieces than Jack. So I might write in a little parenthesis somewhere next to Carly, I might write 3 less. Think about what that means. Let's take a kind of a stab in the dark here. Let's say Jack has 10 pieces of candy in his bag. What would Carly have? Write down your answer in here. Hopefully you said 7. 3 less means you're going to subtract 3. If Jack has 10, Carly has only 7. Jack's got more. She's got less. So if you add that up, how many pieces of candy is that? 10 plus 7 equals 17. They're supposed to have 25 pieces of candy altogether. So this is too low. It's too small. We need a bigger number. So what I basically just showed you is how you do your guess and check process. I just picked a number. I kind of went randomly and said 10. It was a little too small. So pick a bigger number. Do something like, 15. Pick simple stuff to start with. What's Carly going to have? She's going to have 3 less than Jack. So 15 minus 3 means Carly's going to have 12. Add that up together. 15 plus 12. 15 and 12, if you add that together, 5 and 2 makes 7. 10 and 10 makes 20, so we have 27, which is now too big, too high. So you can write too high. So we're getting closer. We're actually narrowing it down. We know that it's somewhere in between 10 and 15 because this one was too low and this one was too high. So I'm kind of zoning in on the right answer here. So we take another guess, maybe 14 or 13 or 12. You can pause the video and try and figure this out on your own if you want. I'm going to go ahead and try 14. What would Carly have if she has 3 less than 14? She would have 11. So add that up, 14 plus 11, and 4 plus 1 is 5, and 10 and 10 makes 20, so 25. There's our answer. Perfect. I'm going to circle it. This is an example of a really good guess and check table. I've shown 3 guesses. One of them's the correct answer, so I circled it so it's really clear. And I have 2 wrong guesses, but they show that I understand the process. They show that we understood that Carly had 3 less and that we were supposed to get a total of 25. If I was a complete stranger and I walked in and I looked at this paper, I would understand what you were doing. I could see how you guessed, see what you were doing over here in the total, and see the too low and the too high. Anybody, a complete stranger outside of our classroom, could come in and understand this work. And that's kind of your goal, is you want a stranger, you want anybody to be able to read your work and understand what you're doing without you having to verbally explain all the time. If you want to make this a little bit better, what you could do is write a sentence. And what we found is Jack has 14 pieces of candy and Carly has 11. So we could write that. Jack has 14 pieces and Carly has 11. Carly has 11 pieces of candy. You could write together they have 25 or something in that sentence too, but Jack has 14 and Carly has 11. That's the basic facts there. So to kind of summarize, when you're all done with a guess and check table, it's supposed to do something. It's supposed to stand alone so a stranger could read it. So at the bottom of your guess and check table, this is the really kind of important part. Every time you're doing guess and check, think about it being standalone. And when I say stand alone, I mean anybody could walk in, read your paper, and know what you were doing and understand your work. So here's what a standalone paper has. If you look at our table, we had really clear labels. We put Carly and Jack and total, something that anybody could read and understand. So labeling everything is super important. Another important thing that was in our table is when we found the answer, do you remember we circled it to show that we were positive that was the answer? And I only circled one answer. I didn't go through and circle a bunch of things. So the answer is clear. Answer is easy to find. Easy to see on your paper. Another thing that's actually really important, and this is of course up to debate, some people say this is less important, but let's say you had gotten lucky and you had made this table, but instead of guessing 10 first, your first guess was 14. Totally lucky, guess 14, got it right. If that would mean you wouldn't have any of these other numbers in the table, they'd be covered up. If these are covered up and all we see is the right answer, a complete stranger doesn't actually know if you really understood the problem. They'll be thinking either you got lucky or you really just guessed right the first time, or they'll think, maybe they didn't know what they were doing, they wrote down the right numbers, but I can't actually tell if they really understood the problem. And of course, we could argue this a little bit, but it's actually good to have these wrong guesses on there. So let's say you guess the first one, you get it right. You should put a couple of wrong guesses into your table just to show you understand the process. So the rule of thumb kind of is to have 2 wrong guesses and 1 right. And it's okay if this table had 20 wrong guesses and then the right answer. You can guess and guess and guess as long as it takes you. But you should show at least 2 wrong ones. It shows the process. It shows you understand what you're doing. So for a standalone paper, the last thing I'm going to put on here, the last bullet, is going to be 2 wrong guesses and a right answer. So I'm going to write 2 wrong guesses. Remember, you can have 10 wrong guesses or as many as you want, but there's got to be at least 2, only just to show that process. Make sure you understand what you're doing. So guess and check, you have clear labels, the answer is easy to find and circled, and 2 wrong guesses, and you organize your work and make it neat and readable to a stranger.